Hi, I'm Sarah from The Colorful Apple, and today I want to talk about a question that I receive often. This question is, can STEAM be used in reading? So let's dive into this and talk about it a little bit. Let's start with what is STEAM. It's an educational approach that incorporates science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. The purpose of STEAM is to guide student inquiry, dialogue, and critical thinking. And this process encourages students to take thoughtful risks, to engage in experiential learning, persist in problem solving, embrace collaboration, and really work through the creative process. So why is this important, and how can we use this with reading, with read-alouds, inside the classroom and outside the classroom as well? How can we connect it to read-alouds? So children's literature, picture books, they really lend themselves to creative thinking. The reading is more meaningful when that making experience in the STEAM connects to the other content. It connects to the science, to the technology, to the math. And these children's books, they tell engaging stories. They are developing the imagination of young minds. We really want to bring that to life and bring those other subjects into it. We want to extend student thinking in the world of building and designing and making. And this STEAM inside read-alouds allows students to make those connections, those meaningful connections between subjects, areas, and to prepare them for real-world experiences. So it really brings those books to life. And the infusion of all of these subjects helps support the creative and logical mathematical learners who might struggle a little bit more when it comes to reading. So it really brings all of that together so that we can approach all of learning styles that our students come to us with. So one way that I did this is that I started to use STEAM take-home book bags. So in another video I talked about what take-home book bags were, and these go along really well with them. They can be connected with the other take-home book bags. So feel free to check out that other video if you haven't seen it already. So the purpose of the take-home book bags is to get books into students' hands and to be able to bring them home and share them with their families. So now what I'm doing is just incorporating that STEAM aspect into it. So switching up just a little bit piece of it and incorporating the STEAM challenge into it. So the first thing, so the take-home book bags, they go in a bag like this. I use the Really Good Stuff bags, but you could use any type of large bag that would fit books. So the example I'm going to use today is the puppies and kittens one. We know how much our kids love puppies and kittens and pets of all kinds. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The first thing that goes, and the most important thing that goes into the take-home book bags, are the books. So any type of books, I tend to get paperback books. I get them. They are 25 cents at a yard sale, at a library book sale, and anything that goes along with the theme. So we have puppies and kittens in this one. So these are just a few examples of books that I might put in. You can incorporate, especially with the STEAM ones, you can incorporate nonfiction books in there as well as fiction books. Students will really find both of those interesting. So find any that connect to the theme. I usually put 3 to 4 in the bag. That's the first thing that goes in. And that's the most important part that I consider as the book bag. Putting those books in the hands of students. Making sure they have access to books at home when they're with their families. I mentioned this in my take-home book bags video, but I realized not all of my students had access to books at home. So this is one way that I could get those home to them, and they had different books to read every week. So if there's 3 to 4 in there, that lasts them the whole week. They can read them, they can reread them on their own or with their families. And the next part that I put into the take-home book bag in the STEAM one, and you can tell that this is the STEAM one because it has the STEAM across the top. That's the symbol for the STEAM take-home book bags. The regular book bags won't have that at the top. But the writing journal goes in next. So inside the writing journal, the kids have a sign-in sheet. They get really excited to sign in and say that they took this book bag home. But then there are also journal questions, and these are just prompts to help them connect the books that they read to the real world, to themselves, to other books. And I encourage families to use those writing prompts as discussion questions, as conversation starters to begin with. And then if the child chooses, they can write about, there should be pages in here, let's see. They can write about what their answers are. So there's different templates that I use. They can draw a picture, they can write words, depending on the developmental level of my students. So they can respond to one of the questions that's in here. But again, I encourage families more to do that discussion, that conversation, to really discuss books and talk about them. So do that with the questions first, and then they can write about them if they choose. The next part that's different about the STEAM book bags is there's a STEAM challenge, whereas in the regular book bags you'll find an activity or a craft or a game. In every STEAM book bag there's a STEAM challenge. So you have the challenge at the top, the objective, all the materials that the students need. And depending on my students, sometimes I will send the materials in the book bag with them, or for the most part, I try to use a very minimal amount of materials for each one. And I try to use ones that are all household items that they would find in their homes for the most part, like Q-tips or elastic bands or paper clips, very simple things. And I tried to keep it under 5 items for the challenge. And then if they want, you can kind of add on to it and add different things, but for the main challenge, just a few items so that they don't need to go crazy, they don't need to go out and buy things to make this work. It's easy enough to have in their homes. Then they follow the strategy. There's some steps to help them, guide them as they do the challenge, and I encourage them to do this together as a family, to let the student take the lead, but to work on it together. And then there are questions down here for the parents to use as kind of guiding questions, and helping them along without giving them answers or telling them how to do it, but kind of asking them, how could you change this? What didn't work here? How can you make it better? So that they really are doing that inquiry-based part on their own. And then on this side, I've incorporated different ways that they can use the different aspects of STEAM. So there's a science connection, there's a technology connection, engineering, arts, math. Those are all there as add-on activities. Again, this I do all voluntary. The books are what is the main part of what I really want the students to do. I want them to be reading. This is all extra, going above and beyond, really bringing that book to life if they choose to do it together as a family. And most students do. They love to do it. The families really enjoyed having that experience with their kids, like someone physically handing them that experience and saying, try this, and they had something to do with their kids. Rather than having to come up with it on their own, they had it right there. So that's the challenge. And then another thing I put in is so in this one they had to design a pet carrier to carry their animal from place to place, and just a small one, they needed to make a big one. But they could design it on here, sketch it out, what they thought, that kind of started them off before they started using the materials. So that's the challenge. Like the regular take-home book bags, there are also family activities. All these activities connect to the theme of the book bag, and they encourage families to get outside, to go do things, to work together, to have fun together, really bring that book into their world. What kinds of ways can we talk about puppies and kitties in our lives, and how can we discuss that as a family? So that's another way. Can they go to the library and research more about it? Can they go outside, go for a walk? How many puppies do you see when you go for a walk? How many kittens do you see when you go for a walk? So just some added on activities, again, voluntary, but another way that the families can work together. They're all working with each other and having fun together, and that's really my main thing that I want to do besides the reading, is really bring families together. And then the final thing is, and there are 5 different reflection sheets, and so you can choose for each one which you think would be best for each book bag or for your students. And these are to kind of look back on the project that they did and kind of think about it. What worked, what didn't work, what did I need to change, what was frustrating, what did it look like in the end, what was my favorite part, different ones. Again, what would you change, what would have made it easier, what if you could have used different tools, what would you have used, what do you think might happen, what actually happened. So just different reflection sheets that can help them think about the process, because with the STEAM challenge, it's not so much about the product, it's about the process and how they went about the process and figured it out by themselves or with the help of family members. And then in the book bag, I also put any sheets that I need, I put in a folder, and I labeled it just to make it easy. So that was something that I used in my classroom, these STEAM book bags, and some of the benefits that I saw was, one, students now had access to books. So if they didn't have books at home, I was now sending home 4 or 5 books a week that they could read and reread with their families, fiction and nonfiction. It was providing them quality time with their families. Not only were they reading together, but now they were working on a hands-on interactive project together as a family, and that really helped bring them together. And I received a lot of feedback from parents and families who said, this was such a great idea, we have so much fun, we look forward to a new one each week, and the kids get really excited to choose their new book. That's another part of the book bags that's beneficial, is it's student choice. So I put the books in, but they get to choose which book bag they choose that week. So for the STEAM ones, I have about 25. For the regular take-home book bags, I had over 50. So there was a lot for them to choose from. Besides that quality time, it built that relationships among family. I encouraged parents to get involved. I encouraged siblings to get involved so that they're all working together and building those relationships with each other and with books and really bonding over both of them. It's a lot of engagement. So not only are they reading together, discussing the book, they now have this multi-sensory activity challenge to work on together. It's really getting them hands-on and incorporating all those different aspects into the reading and making it a fun activity for families to do at home together. It's building their social skills. They are talking with each other, they're thinking things through, they're problem solving. And yes, there are definitely going to be frustrations, and that's one thing I talk about with parents before I send them home is it's okay for them to get frustrated. It's okay for them to fail. And that's a social skill that students really need to learn. And helping them work through that failure and working through those frustrations really builds up their social skills and their ability to not only do it in this project, but to carry it over into other aspects of their life. And then that integration, we're talking about reading, but then we're also giving students the opportunity who are more logical, mathematical, or creative thinkers. It incorporates what their strengths are. So you're meeting all the needs of your students through these different types of book bags. So that was huge. It was such a game changer in my classroom. And putting this all together definitely took a long time. We started out with just a few in my classroom, and then we built them up as time went on. But what I wanted to do is to make it easier for you, I have them all created. So for the STEAM ones, if you go to this link, I have over 25 of them, I believe, that you can choose from. You can go to this link and it has the whole bundle. It has all of them you can grab at once. Or it has the individual links and you can look at the different ones and pick and choose if there's something that you would rather do. And again, this fits in perfectly with the regular take-home book bag, so you can combine them. The routine is very similar. There's just that tiny bit of difference. Instead of a craft or an activity or a game, you now have the STEAM challenge. So that's the only thing that's different, but it helps be consistent with work that's being sent home at night. Parents know what to expect, what they need to work on, how long they have for it. I would send them home for a week. They knew that they were going to get books. They were going to get new books, and they knew when they needed to be returned. It was just a simple routine that we got into and we used all year long. So I highly recommend these, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them. Again, the link is right there, and I'll leave it in the description of this video as well. I hope that you find them as helpful in your classroom as I did in mine. Thank you for watching.